Hello students, welcome to the Hindu News Analysis by Bajirao IAS Academy. Today we will discuss some of the most important and relevant news articles. They are important for both prelims and mains exam perspectives. See, before actually discussing all these important news articles, please subscribe to Bajirao IAS Academy YouTube channel and also hit the bell icon so that you will get regular updates regarding our classes. See, these are the list of important news articles for today's discussion. The first news article is with respect to Indo-Pacific Economic Framework for Prosperity. Okay, so recently India showed interest to be part of the Indo-Pacific Economic Forum for the prosperity. This is actually the US-led bloc. Okay, US-led bloc, and this contains all the major countries which are part of the Indo-Pacific except China. Okay, now the author has been suggesting that India should be cautious while joining the Indo-Pacific Economic Forum for Prosperity. The next news article, this is very important, and this is about the nutritional values of millets. The next article is explaining the mitochondrial donation treatment, how a baby has three parents. Okay, this is with respect to the three parent baby. Okay, three parent baby. Yesterday also we have discussed about the mitochondrial donation treatment where the baby have the DNA of three parents. Okay, now this is also in news and this is also very important. We will discuss about this as well. Three parent baby and mitochondrial donation treatment. Next, center announces Praveen Sood as new CBI director. Okay, so the appointment procedure and when CBI was actually established, what is the role and responsibilities of the CBI, we will discuss. The next article is with respect to the bail order should not be too long or come too late as both violates the personal liberty as held by the Supreme Court. Okay, so as part of this article, we will also discuss about the judicial reforms which are required in the Indian judiciary. Okay, so these are all important and relevant news articles for today's discussion. The first news article is with respect to the Indo-Pacific Economic Forum for Prosperity. Okay, so the author has been suggesting that this strategic economic bloc will only tighten the leash. Okay, so India joining such a framework that is primarily the US-led framework. Okay, this is primarily US-led framework will be detrimental to India's interests, especially in the new emerging technologies and other policy domains, and this will further narrow down India's space of domestic industrialization. Now, please understand the author has been started this article with the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership. We all know that in the year 2019, India was withdrawn from the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership. Okay, so this is actually a regional bloc comprising all the 10 Asian countries along with six other countries in the region. Okay, six other countries include India, China, Australia, South Korea, Japan, etc. Okay, so India in the year 2019 November walked out of the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership because India given the reason that that may distort India's domestic industries. Okay, because of particularly flooding of cheap Chinese goods into India's domestic economy. The Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership involves countries like China, Japan, South Korea, Australia, New Zealand. Now, India was withdrawn from the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, so India will no longer be a member, a participant of RCEP. Okay, so these five countries, along with 10 Asian countries, comprises the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership. However, in this year 2023, India, along with many of the countries which are in the Indo-Pacific, okay, so Indo-Pacific countries, but this does not include China. Okay, so India has shown interest to be part of the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework for Prosperity. Okay, this is primarily the US driven economic framework. Now, in when India has been withdrawn out of the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership and joining the Indo-Pacific framework, economic framework for prosperity. That does mean that the US has been replaces the author suggesting that US replaces China in the RCEP. Okay, so for India, Indo-Pacific Economic Framework for Prosperity is same as Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, where China is dominant. In the same way, Indo-Pacific Economic Framework for Prosperity, US is a dominant force. US is a dominant force. It is primarily US led and US driven. However, India in recent times, the foreign policy priority of India is developing a strategic partnership with US. Okay, now with China, the big economic fear was any trade deal impact on India's manufacturing sector. This is the primary reason why India walked out of the regional comprehensive economic partnership, because any trade deal in the regional comprehensive economic partnership would impact India's manufacturing sector, because cheap Chinese goods will flood into the Indian markets. Okay, so that will distort the prices in the domestic market, and that will be a disincentive on the part of the domestic manufacturing. Now, please understand, economic issues with US have been no less problematic. We have currently several economic issues with the US, and they are also as problematic as China inking a trade deal with China, where Chinese goods flooding Indian markets. Okay, so both US and China are problematic for India's interests, because with US we have several issues. The issues ranging from agriculture, intellectual property, labor and environmental standards, and digital economy. So these are the major issues we have with the US, and they are not yet resolved. Okay, now strategic partnership is a foreign policy priority for India, we have discussed. Okay, so now strategic partnership does not means completely accepting US self-interest driven economic framework. The author suggesting that the Indo-Pacific economic framework for prosperity is completely a US self-interest driven economic framework. However, strategic partnership should not be completely accepting the US self-interest driven economic framework such as IPEFT, because this does not suit India's current economic interests. Okay, so why it does not suit India's economic interests? Because of several reasons. See, trade deals are mostly about tariffs. Tariffs are, taxes which are imposed on imports of a one particular country. Now when we are inking regional trade deals or bilateral trade deals, it is mostly about tariffs. Now issues related to intellectual property, services, investment, domestic regulation, digital and labor and environmental standards are becoming more and more important in current trade deals. Okay, in present day trade deals, these all issues are also increasingly considered. They include intellectual property, services, investment, domestic regulation, digital and labor environmental standards, and they are becoming more and more important. Now the United States Indo-Pacific Economic Forum, okay, Indo-Pacific Economic Forum for Prosperity proposal completely removes the tariff element. Okay, so there will be no tariff element involved in this agreement. Okay, economic forum agreement. However, this is all about these issues ranging from intellectual property, services, investment, domestic regulation, digital and labor and environmental standards, and they gave these issues were given more and more priority under Indo-Pacific Economic Forum for Prosperity. Okay, now please also understand the Indo-Pacific Economic Forum is really about developing a strategic economic bloc. Okay, now US, this is primarily a US led bloc and US driven group. So therefore, it is primarily developing a strategic economic bloc. Okay, an integrated economic system, and that centers around US. Okay, this bloc primarily centers around US, and this primarily serves the interests of US, and this excludes China. Okay, this excludes China in the region. Now the systematic integration caused by Indo-Pacific Economic Forum for actual long-term impact will leave a little leeway for domestic policies. If India becomes part of the Indo-Pacific, economic forum for prosperity, then that will leave a little leeway for domestic policies. Okay, India will not be able to frame the independent domestic policies, and this will also have a huge impact on our domestic manufacturing sector as when we part of the regional comprehensive economic partnership. Okay, now this will also impact a country's industrialization. Please understand the Indo-Pacific Economic Forum has four pillars. Okay, it has four pillars, and the four pillars of Indo-Pacific Economic Partnership for Indo-Pacific Economic Forum for Prosperity include trade, supply chains, clean economy, and fair economy. Now, fearful of possible trap, India has joined only supply chains, clean economy, fair economy pillars. However, India is not of the trade pillar. Okay, so if in case India is part of the trade pillar, then yes, of course, the organization or the grouping has not recognized or not given priority to tariffs, but it has emphasized on certain other issues, for example, intellectual property, services, investment, and domestic regulation. So, because of all these issues, India is not part of the trade pillar. For example, imagine India is the largest producer of generic drugs. Okay, India is the largest producer of generic drugs. Now, India also very often go for compulsory licensing of certain medicine. Now, when India has been issuing compulsory licensing for few products, this impacting the intellectual property rights. Okay, however, it has approved by the WTO. It has been approved by the WTO and TRIPS regime also, but it is violation of us to some extent. It impacts the intellectual property. So therefore, fearful of all these impacts or all these issues, India is not part of the trade regime. Okay, not part of the trade pillar of Indo-Pacific Economic Forum for Prosperity. Now, the Indo-Pacific Economic Forum for Prosperity can already seen have a deep implications on agriculture. Okay, so it already have a deep implications on agriculture in terms of genetically modified seeds and food. And apart from this, it also has a surrendering policy space. It also leads to, for example, whatever policy space India already have on several issues, whether it is about the industrialization, service sector, digital economy. India is a sovereign, and India's policy space will further shrink or further narrows if India becomes part of Indo-Pacific Economic Forum for Prosperity. Okay, so this leads to the compromising comparative advantage in manufacturing because unfair labor and environmental standards. Okay, so if India becomes part of the Indo-Pacific Economic Forum for Prosperity, that will shrink the policy space which India already enjoying, and it will also enforce on India the unfair labor and environmental standards. Okay, since India is a developing country, India is significantly dependent on hydrocarbons for its energy security. Okay, energy security. And India, with the largest workforce in the world, India is also significantly concerned with the labor reforms or labor laws. So, therefore, imposing unfair labor laws or unfair labor and environmental standards on country like India will certainly impact India's industrialization and the socio-economic development as well. Okay, so therefore, the author finally has been suggesting that it will also seriously affect India's ability to create a vibrant domestic ecosystem. Currently, India has been planning to create a vibrant domestic ecosystem, particularly after the post-pandemic era. Okay, post-pandemic years, India has been trying to create a vibrant domestic ecosystem because India is now the fastest growing major economy. India clearly have the advantage of 68% of its total population under the working age, and India has a huge demographic dividend. So in order to reap all these benefits, India has been planning to create a vibrant domestic ecosystem. Okay, now this vibrant domestic ecosystem, uh, particularly in the emerging areas such as digital economy and green products. Okay, so finally, the author's opinion is that regional comprehensive economic partnership. India withdrawn from the regional comprehensive economic partnership is because of the concerns with respect to the domestic sector or domestic manufacturing sector, or the possible impact of China flooding cheap goods into the domestic sector. In the same way, Indo-Pacific Economic Forum for Prosperity will also have a significant negative implications for India's domestic manufacturing economy, and this will also further narrows India's policy domain. Okay, so there are several other issues which have been emerging, and those issues place a certain complex will place certain complexities before India. Okay, so this is all about the Indo-Pacific Economic Forum for Partnership. Now, please understand what is Indo-Pacific Economic Framework. Okay, so what is Indo-Pacific Economic Framework? Now, it is defined as a new partnership. The initiative aims to digitization of economies, and this will also focus on improving supply chains across the Indo-Pacific region. Okay, particularly after the post pandemic, countries have been trying to achieve the supply chain resilience. Okay, supply chain resilience. In fact, countries like Australia, Japan, and India, they also formed the supply chain resilience network. Okay, they formed the supply chain resilience network so that they depend less on countries like China. Okay, they depend less on countries like China. Now, this Indo-Pacific Economic Framework will focus on supply chains and will facilitate infrastructure investments. Currently, the total economic volume of its member countries is approximately 40 percentage of global gross national product. Okay, global gross national product, 40 percentage of global gross national product. Now, countries which are part of the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework include USA, Japan, India, South Korea, Australia, Indonesia, Thailand, Singapore, Malaysia, Philippines, Brunei, New Zealand, Vietnam. Okay, so 13 countries these 13 countries are part of Indo-Pacific Economic Framework for Prosperity. However, recently, UK also shown interest to be part of the Indo-Pacific Economic Forum for Prosperity. Okay, so if UK also joins this forum or the framework, then this membership will become 14. Okay, so recently, US President Joe Biden has launched Indo-Pacific Economic Framework. Okay, so in this framework, total 13 countries, and these 13 countries including Japan also. Now, these 13 countries we have discussed. Okay, so they constitute around 40 percentage of global gross national product. Now, India is also part of the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework for Prosperity. Now, key areas where India will focus include trade. Now, India, despite not being part of the trade pillar of Indo-Pacific Economic Framework for Prosperity, India focuses on build high standard, inclusive, free and fair trade commitments. And secondly, supply chains to improve transparency, diversity, security, and sustainability. This will make resilient and well integrated the supply chains. And when it comes to the third aspect, clean energy, decarbonization, infrastructure, and climate change will be the focus areas, and all these areas will help accelerate development and deployment of clean and energy technologies. The last aspect is tax and anti-corruption will also be focused, and this will help in promoting fair competition by enforcing robust tax, anti-money laundering, and anti-bribery regimes. So all these countries which are part of the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework for Prosperity will cooperate on matters like anti-bribe regimes, anti-money laundering, and enforcing robust tax. So these are all important and relevant points about Indo-Pacific Economic Framework for Prosperity. Now, the next a very important and relevant news article is with respect to the millets. Okay, so we all know that the Food and Agriculture Organization, the specialized agency of the United Nations, has declared year 2023 as the International Year of Millets. Okay, so 2023 is declared as International Year of Millets. See, the this has been recommended by India. Okay, so this has been recommended by India, and several countries have supported India's initiative of declaring 2023 as International Year of Millets. So in this context, before actually discussing this article, first we need to understand what are millets, what are its nutritional benefits, and what exactly is India's status when it comes to the millets. Okay, so millets are actually a small grained cereals. Okay, they are known as the small grained cereals. Now, so they are also known as coarse grains. Okay, they are also known as coarse grains. Now they are often referred to as superfoods. Okay, millets are very often also referred to as superfoods. Now, among the first crops which are actually cultivated, millets are domesticated. So they are one of the first crops to be domesticated, and evidence of millet cultivation and consumption date back to around 3000 BC. Okay, even during the Indus Valley civilization also, millets are widely cultivated across different parts of the Indus Valley civilization. Now, what are the climatic conditions which favor the millets cultivation? Millets are mainly a kharif crop in India. We know in India we have three cropping seasons. One is Rabi, okay, Rabi, Kharif, Kharif, and the Jaid season. Okay, so millets are primarily the Kharif season. Okay, they are primarily the Kharif season, and the temperature which favor the millet cultivation is 27 degrees Celsius to 32 degree Celsius, and the rainfall which required for millet cultivation is ranging from 50 centimeters to 100 centimeters. Soil type required for the millet cultivation is inferior alluvial soils or loamy soils, better suitable for millet cultivation. Now, if you look at India's position with respect to millets, global India is the largest producer. Okay, globally India is the largest millet producer. Now, India accounts for around 20 percentage of global millet production, and India also accounts for 80 percentage of global millet production. So please remember, India is the largest producer of millets in the world. Okay, so there are common varieties of millets include ragi, that is this is also known as finger millet, jowar known as sorghum, sama, this is little millet, bajra, pearl millet, variga, this is proso millet. Now there are other indigenous varieties of millets also. So they include small millets, kodo, kutki, chenna, sanva are the some of the indigenous varieties of millets. Now please also remember the order of the top millet producing states. Rajasthan is the top millet producing state in the India. Okay, in India, Rajasthan is the top millet producing state, and Rajasthan followed by Karnataka, Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, and Uttar Pradesh. Okay, so just remember this order: Rajasthan, Karnataka, Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, and Uttar Pradesh. Now, there are several government initiatives. Okay, so there are several government initiatives for promotion of millet cultivation, because millets are traditionally known for nutrition. Okay, so they also help fight several non-communicable diseases among the people. So, in order to promote millets, the government has brought several government initiatives. So, these initiatives include Initiative for Nutritional Security through Intensive Millet Promotion. Okay, so this program is known as INSIMP, Initiative for Nutritional Security through Intensive Millet Promotion. The second initiative is India's Wealth Millets for Health. Okay, so this is the second initiative. The third initiative is Millet Startup Innovation Challenge. Fourth initiative is Hiked MSP for Millets, and fifth is Agriculture Ministry declared millets as nutri-cereals in the year 2018. Now, apart from these initiatives, India has also persuaded the United Nations General Assembly to declare year 2023 as International Year of Millets, so that the concerted promotion of millets at the global level is achieved, and this will also ensure health of people across the globe. Okay, so what is the significance of millets? So millets are significant because they are less expensive. First reason is they are very less expensive, and they are nutritionally superior. Apart from these advantages, millets also known for high protein, fiber, minerals such as iron, calcium, and low glycemic index. Okay, now these are the some of the advantages, and apart from that, they help in tackle lifestyle problems and health, obesity, diabetics, etc., and the photoinsensitivity, resilient to climate change, water efficient. Now, millets are generally the water efficient crops. Okay, so they even can be cultivated in arid and drought prone areas. Okay, so they are less water intensive. They are less water intensive, and they can be cultivated in arid and drought prone regions as well. Okay, so International Year of Millets 2023, this is actually proposed by India and declared by United Nations General Assembly. So you can go through the states which cultivate the cereal varieties here. So we already discussed the state which produces the largest millets in India is Rajasthan. Okay, Rajasthan followed by Karnataka, Karnataka followed by Maharashtra, Maharashtra followed by Madhya Pradesh, and then Uttar Pradesh. Okay, so these are the top five states in millet production. Now, what this article has been saying. Okay, so this article is all about the millet cultivation. Now, UN Food and Agriculture Organization is a specialized agency of the United Nations, and this declared 2023 as International Year of Millets. Okay, so we already discussed that. I have already told you that the Food and Agriculture Organization has declared 2023 as International Year of Millets. Okay, now the availability, uh, for example, they can be grown in environmental conditions, particularly because of the climate crisis. Okay, the climate change, there is conditions like a drought, okay, more drought and saline soils and less availability of water. So in all these conditions, millets can be successfully grown. Okay, millets can be successfully grown, and this will ensure food security. This will ensure the food security of people, and will also ensure income security for the small and marginal farmers. Okay, small and marginal farmers. Now please also understand, millets have becoming popular in India. Okay, so why they have been becoming popular in India? Because of few reasons, such as low input requirement. They require a very low amount of inputs. So whether it is irrigation, fertilizers, pesticides, so such inputs are required in a very lower scale, and it is also known for high nutritional density. So because of these two advantages and several other advantages, millets have becoming more and more popular in India. Now, apart from that, it will also ensure India's food security. Because of climate change, monocropping and other unsustainable agricultural practices, they may pose significant food security risks for India. Okay, millets will ensure India with the food security. So this is one such reason for the excessive emphasis on millets. Now, what are millets? What are millets? Millets are fundamentally known as grasses. So they are cultivated worldwide, but they are especially cultivated or specially cultivated in tropical parts such as Africa and Asia. Okay, so some of the more common varieties of millet varieties include pearl millet. This is, the scientific name of pearl millet is Cenchrus americanus, and the second variety is Barnard millet, and the third variety is finger millet, and the fourth variety is foxtail millets. So these are the very commonly grown millet varieties. However, please understand the Agricultural and Processed Foods Development Authority. This is actually the statutory agency at the central level. Now, Agricultural and Processed Foods Development Authority says India is the world's largest producer of millets. So we have discussed India produces around 20% of global millets, and in Asia, India produces around 80% of millets. Okay. Now, please remember, in the year 21-22, the country accounted for India accounted for 40.51 percentage of world pearl millet production. Okay, so India accounted for total 40.51 percentage of total pearl millet production and 8.9 percentage of sorghum. And within the country also, pearl millet contributes around 60% of total millet production, and sorghum accounts for 27% and ragi accounts for 11%. So you may also get the question, so which millet or ragi is cultivated, you know, in terms of production, ragi is highest in total millet production in India. Okay, so this is actually an incorrect statement. So in terms of production, the pearl millet made up of 60% of total production, and pearl millet is followed by sorghum and ragi. Now why they are sought after, why the importance is being given for the millet cultivation and millet consumption? Because of two broad features, the growing importance or the importance is given for millet cultivation. So one is their nutritional value, because the nutritional value of millets is generally comparable to that of a extant food crops. And secondly, their ability to withstand harsh conditions, for example, in case a drought prone area or saline soils or less fertile soils or less water availability, okay, or they dependent on rainfall, lack of irrigation facilities. In all such harsh conditions, millet can be easily cultivated. Okay, so even they can be cultivated in resource poor conditions. We already discussed that millets can be cultivated without or less inputs. Okay, so therefore this particularly benefit small and marginal farmers. Okay, this particularly benefits small and marginal farmers, and they can be grown in areas like drought tolerant, adopted growing in warm weather, and require a very low moisture. Okay, so in all these conditions, millet can be successfully grown, and their productivity is also very high. So across the world, the millet productivity is also very high in India. Okay, now please understand, are millets nutritious? What is the nutritious composition of millets? Generally, the nutritional content of millets include carbohydrates, proteins, fiber, amino acids, and various other minerals. Okay, so all these are part of the nutritious content of millets. Now, for example, the pearl millet. So India cultivates around 60% of total millets include the pearl millet. Now, pearl millet, one of the oldest cultivated varieties, have very high protein content. Okay, so this will have a very high protein content than rice, maize, sorghum. Okay, however, it is being comparable with the barley. The pearl millet is being comparable, or it has a nutritional value equivalent to barley. Now, it is more nutritious content than several other varieties like rice, maize, and sorghum. Now, various studies have been conducted, and these studies have revealed that the foxtail millet is very rich in amino acid lysine. Okay, so it is very rich in lysine, and finger millet has more crude fiber than wheat and rice. Okay, so these are the nutritional values of the millets. Okay, now apart from that, they are also important sources of micronutrients and also sources of photochemicals. So these are all the nutritional value or the nutritional composition of millets. Now, how does the processing affect nutrients? Uh, when millets are taken to the consumers, they will be processed. Okay. Now, processing will also be affected. Processing also affect the nutrients. Now, processing and preparing millets for consumption can affect nutrients in three ways. Okay, they can also affect nutrients in three ways. One is either they enhance the nutrients. This is also known as fortification. Okay, this is also known as fortification. Either processing enhances the nutritional content, suppresses the nutritional content, and ignore them. Okay, so the other case is also known as adulteration. Okay, adulteration, the suppressing of the nutritional content of the millets, adulteration, fortification, or either they ignore the nutritious content. And polishing. Okay, so in order to make them look better, these millets are also polished. Okay, so they are visually, to make them visually appealing. While polishing millets, they also lose their nutritional value. Okay, a frequent last step is polishing of millets. Okay, so the longer the grains were milled or polished, the more protein, fat, fiber contents that has been removed. Okay, protein, fat, and fiber content will be removed. Okay, more milk and more the protein content, etc., have been removed from the millets. Okay, so this is all about the millet cultivation and the uses of millets and the nutritional content of millets, or the nutritional composition of millets. So with this information, so let's move on to the next article. So next article is with respect to Supreme Court recently held that the bail orders should not be too long or come too late. Okay, because the both violate the personal liberty of individual. Okay, personal liberty under Article 21, right to life and personal liberty. Supreme Court says that if a lower court, whether it is a high court or subordinate courts, while giving bails, they should not delay too long. Okay, so they should not make it too long or come too late, because both these aspects violate the personal liberty of an individual. Now, what is bail? What is bail? Bail is actually a written permission given by the court, and this allows a person charged with a criminal offense to be out of jail. Okay, so the bail generally allows a person to go out of jail while the wait for trial. Okay, now trial against a particular individual will not be completed. Okay, so the trial is not yet completed, but if trial is not completed, the prisoner is very often known as under trial prisoner. Okay, under trial prisoners. So statistics reveal that India have a very high under trial prisoners, and this very often leading to the overcrowding of prisoners. Okay, overcrowding of prisons. So because of these reason, there is an emphasis on reforming the bail procedure. Recently, the Supreme Court has also come up with fast and secure transmission of electronic records. This is otherwise known as the faster system. Now, when back to bail, a person charged with a criminal offense to be out of jail while they wait for their trial. Okay, so they are still waiting for their trial, and they can go out of jail for a temporary period of time. Okay, now some other result in the case, such as guilty plea or withdrawal of their charges. So this may lead to in all these cases, this may lead to the granting of a bail to a individual. Now, the fast and secure transmission of electronic record system, this is otherwise known as the faster system. This is known as the faster system. So what is a faster system? Recently, Supreme Court approved a major reform by implementing a system of electronic transmission of its orders. Okay, so earlier the orders of the Supreme Courts and High Courts are not electronically transmitted or transferred to the authorities. Okay, so this also resulting in a significant delay. Okay, this also resulted in significant delays. So therefore, in order to cut down the delays, the Supreme Court introduced or come up with a faster system. Okay, so this will ensure that Article 21, that is right to life, is implemented more and more effectively. For example, imagine a situation where Supreme Court grants bail to a particular prisoner. Okay, Supreme Court grants a bail to a particular prisoner, and due to the inefficiency, the bail is granted in one day and received on the next day. So the prisoner have to wait for the one day or 2 days. Okay, so to release from the jail. When it comes to electronic transmission of Supreme Court orders, they are transferred in a same day, and this will ensure justice for the individual, or this will ensure that the Article 21 of the Indian Constitution implemented in a more effective manner. Now, this system transmits e-authenticated copies of interim orders, okay, stay orders, bail orders, and records of proceedings to duty holders via secured electronic channel for compliance and due execution. Now, what is the significance of this move? Okay, so in case of under trials, the hardest copy of their bail order must reach the prison in time, then they released from the prison. Okay, so this copy will be released on time and they will be released from the prison. So what is the need of bringing faster in India? Okay, or Supreme Court brought with the initiative like a faster, because the plight of jail inmates has not improved despite bail orders passed by the court, okay, due to delays in communication of those orders. So there has been significant delays in communication of the bail orders given by the courts. Now challenges, this also faster system also have several challenges. The challenges include lack of the availability of internet connection in jails throughout the nation is one major challenge. So without the internet facility, this is impossible to transmit these orders electronically. Okay, so with respect to FASTA, this is challenge, significance, need, and what is a FASTA we have already discussed. Now, what this newspaper article is saying about the bail. The Supreme Court, in one of its judgment, held that the Supreme Court has held that the orders of the courts in bail cases should neither be too long or elaborate. So, okay, they should not come too late, as both violate the constitutional mandate of personal liberty under Article 21 of the Indian Constitution. However, Supreme Court also held that judges, while rejecting or granting bail to an accused individual, should not slip into the extensive deliberations, because that would further delay the bail petition to a prisoner. Okay, so extensive deliberations on the merits of the case or evidence involved. Okay, so this will further result in delay of the proceedings or delay of granting bail. Again, once a case for bail is reserved for orders, the orders should not be delayed for too long, and those orders should be delayed, or the pronouncement of the decision should not take too long. This is one such directive that is also given by the Supreme Court to the courts. So every day waiting for a dent on the personal liberty of under trial. Okay, so every day waiting for the dent on the personal liberty of an under trial. Okay, so when wait for an under trial increases day by day for bail, and this will have a serious implications on the personal liberty of individual under Article 21 that guarantees right to life and personal liberty to individuals. So in this respect, we will try and understand some judicial reforms that have been required, that are required in the present state of Indian judiciary. Okay, so the judicial reforms include the, the problems include lack of transparency in the appointment of judges. Okay, uh, please remember 99th Constitutional Amendment Act brought the National Judicial Appointments Commission for the appointment of judges. However, the Supreme Court has declared that the National Judicial Appointments Commission is unconstitutional. Okay, unconstitutional, and it continued with the system of collegium, which is appointment of judges by the judges. Now, please understand the collegium system for appointment is a violation of the principle of checks and balances under the doctrine of separation of powers. Now, in the collegium system, judges, they themselves appoint judges. Okay, so this is to maintain the independence of the judiciary from the other organs such as executive or from the legislature. Now, this says that the collegium system appointment violates the principle of checks and balances doctrine, because judges appointing judges will not give any scope for checks and balances which has been mandated under the separation of power. Now, this has been resulting in declining quality of judges in the subordinate courts. So there has been an issue of declining quality of judges in subordinate courts, and there is also an issue of all India judicial services. Okay, so there is also the mandate of appointing the all India judicial services. However, there is no consensus for the appointing judges under the all India judicial services. And within the judiciary, there is lack of institutional accountability, high cost, and inaccessible judicial transmissions, even though Supreme Court has come up with an initiative called FASTA. Okay, an initiative called FASTA. And apart from this, there are other challenges include nepotism during the judicial appointments. Okay, now the higher judiciary, the number of women judges is very low. Okay, number of women judges is very low. Now, various high courts also, the number of women judges is very significantly low, except the High Court of Sikkim. Except the High Court of Sikkim. Apart from this, the present system of judicial appointment is contrary to the global standards. So it is contrary to the global standards, and there is a lack of competence in recruitment of judges. And apart from that, there is also rampant corruption in the judiciary, lack of judicial proceedings and mechanisms against crime against women in urban areas are some of the issues which have been plaguing the judiciary in India. Okay, judiciary in India. Okay, so apart from this, the pending of cases before the judiciary is also a major problem. According to an estimate, around 4 crore cases have been pending before various courts across the country. Okay, so this has also a major concern. Apart from that, there is a lack of infrastructure for the judiciary, and the appointment of judges is also a problem. Appointment in the sense that there is a huge vacancy at the subordinate courts, high courts, and even high courts. Okay, so because of all these challenges, the functioning of the judiciary has been impacted. Now the next article is mitochondrial donation treatment. Please remember, yesterday also we have discussed the mitochondrial donation treatment. What exactly constitutes a mitochondrial donation treatment? Okay, now mitochondrial donation treatment led to the birth of a three-parent baby. Okay, three-parent baby. Now we will understand what exactly is the mitochondrial donation treatment and three-parent baby. Now, please understand the baby, the mitochondrial donation treatment. What happens that the baby will have three parents. Okay, the baby will have three parents, and the baby will derive the mitochondrial DNA from the donor, and apart from the genetic material or the genetic DNA from the biological parents. Okay, now yesterday the procedure we have discussed, and we will also discuss the procedure of the mitochondrial donation treatment, how the baby will have the DNA or the genetic material of three parents. Now the baby technically have three parents because it will derive mitochondrial DNA from the donor apart from genetic material or DNA from biological parents, both mother and father. This is actually a pioneering technology. This is actually a pioneering technology, and that is used to facilitate this in order to prevent the child from inheriting the mother's mitochondrial disease. Okay, so this will prevent the child from inheriting the mother's mitochondrial disease. Now, why did the baby need three parents? What is the need for the baby having the three parents? Now, the baby carried out most its DNA from parents. Okay, while the mitochondrial donation treatment, the newborn baby will have a DNA from its parents. The minor percentage is also from the donor because the donor gives a healthy mitochondria, and mitochondria also consists of genetic material. Okay, minute genetic material, and this genetic material is also uh, inherited by the child. Okay, so therefore the child is known as a three parent child. Now the baby carried most of its DNA from parents and minor percent from the donor whose mitochondria has used while fertilizing the egg. Now please also understand mitochondria are traditionally basically known as the powerhouses of the cells. Okay, so they are basically known as the powerhouses of the cells, so they generate energy and thus are also responsible for cell function and human body. Okay, so please remember mitochondria. For example, this is a human cell. Okay, this is a human cell. This is nucleus. Okay, in nucleus there is a presence of genetic material, and out of nucleus there is a cytoplasm, and within cytoplasm consists of mitochondria. Okay, however, the mother of a baby consists of mitochondria, but the mitochondria is already have a certain mutation. Okay, so this is a defective mitochondria. Due to defective mitochondria, there is a need for a healthy mitochondria, so that there are higher chances that the child will not infect with any diseases which are generally inherited from his or her mother. Okay, now the mitochondria is also known as the powerhouse. They generate energy. Okay, mitochondria generate energy, and they are responsible for the functioning of the entire cell. So when the entire cell has been functioning, and that will in turn lead to the human body. Okay, activities by the human body. Now understand, there are certain defects might occur within these mitochondria. Okay, so certain defects might occur in these mitochondria, and this produces energy for the cells and thereby impacting the overall cell function. Now, the diseases that arise out of such mitochondrial mutations are known as mitochondrial diseases. We already discussed there are certain defective mitochondria, and this defective mitochondria in turn further infect or impact the functioning of this cell. Okay, so the diseases which arises out of the mitochondrial mutations are called as the mitochondrial diseases. When the mitochondria are impaired, okay, for example, a child is born with the defective mitochondria. Okay, so from it is inherited from his or her mother. Then that will lead to the brain damage of a child, organ failure, and also leads to the muscle wastage. Okay, now the symptoms will also get more and more debilitating as child grows. Okay, so however, as of now, the mitochondrial diseases have no cure except the mitochondrial donation treatment, where this involves genetic material of three parents or three individuals. This is also known as three parent baby. Okay, this is also known as three parent baby. However, there is no cure, but this disease, the mitochondrial disease, can be treated through the mitochondrial donation treatment. So, are there any side effects of the Are there any side effects of this procedure? Yes, of course, it has. It is possible that small amount of maternal mitochondria with errors may get passed during the procedure. Okay, generally, what happens is that from the mother, the nucleus is separated from this is cell. Okay, this is cell and this is defective mitochondria. Okay, defective mitochondria. From the cell, the nucleus genetic material is separated from the mother. However, while separating, to minor amount of mitochondria will also present or will also get separated from the nucleus genetic material. Okay, so very less chances. So if this is separated from the mitochondria is comes with the genetic nucleus, then this will inherit the mitochondrial disease even after having the three parent baby. Okay, even after doing the mitochondrial donation treatment, the child still gets infected with the mitochondrial disease. Okay, this is one side effect of the mitochondrial donation treatment. However, it's the experts have been saying that it is largely helpful. The procedure is not without these minimal risks. Okay, this procedure involves some minimal risks and it is not without these minimal risks. Now, please understand the procedure of the three parent baby. Now, this technique generally involves using DNA from three people. Okay, three people are mother, father, and the donor. Father and the donor. So, the genetic material DNA from these people or three people in order to prevent serious inherited mitochondrial diseases. Okay, inverter fertilization with mitochondrial DNA. The procedure involves a mother egg is taken out. Okay, from the mother egg, the nucleus is removed and transferred to first the nucleus is removed from the mother's egg. Okay, so you can see here this is defective mitochondria. This is actually the defective mitochondria, and children should not inherit these defective mitochondria. In case the child inherited with the defective mitochondria, he will suffer with the mitochondrial disease. So first what happens, the nucleus, okay, the nucleus is removed from the mother's egg. Secondly, this is actually a donor's egg. Okay, this is actually the donor's egg, and within the donor egg there is a healthy mitochondria. You can see here this is healthy mitochondria. This is donor's egg and this is mother's egg. Now nucleus are left as it is, or nucleus is removed. First nucleus is removed from a healthy mitochondria donor's egg. Okay, this nucleus is removed, and this nucleus of mother's egg is transferred into the healthy mitochondria of donor's egg. Okay, so in this case we use nucleus and in this case we use the entire cell which consists of normal mitochondria. Now the nucleus removed and transferred into the donor's healthy egg. Here you can see the nucleus is transferred into the healthy egg of the donor. Now, in vitro fertilization, IVF, in vitro fertilization. In the in vitro fertilization, what happens is that this egg, which consists of the nucleus of a mother and the mitochondria of the donor, will be, an in vitro fertilization takes place where the sperm of the father is introduced into the in the in vitro conditions. Now after that this egg will placed in the mother's uterus. Okay, this is now called as embryo, and this embryo will be placed in mother's uterus. So mitochondria is generally known, this is all the process of the mitochondrial donation treatment and the procedure of mitochondrial donation treatment. Now, mitochondria is generally known as the powerhouse of the cell. Okay, so it provides energy to the entire cell. Okay, so they have their own genomic structure or they have their own genome. So there are certain risks involved in mitochondrial donation treatment. Uncertainties remain over interaction between the mother's nuclear DNA. This is mother's nuclear DNA, and for mother's nuclear DNA, this is alien cell. Okay, this is alien cell. Donor cell is alien cell. So therefore, the uncertainties remain over interaction between the mother's nuclear DNA and the donor's mitochondrial DNA. This mitochondria also consists of DNA. Okay, so the interactions between the donor's mitochondrial DNA and the mother's nucleus DNA interactions are remain unknown. Okay, so this may pose certain unwanted risks among the child. Okay, so this is all about the mitochondrial donation treatment and the three parent babies and about the mitochondria. The next news article is center announces Praveen Sood as new CBI director. So Praveen Sood is now actually the former DGP of the Karnataka state. Okay, he is actually the former DGP of the Karnataka state. Now, please understand the origin of Central Bureau of Investigation. So, it is recommended by the Santanam Committee on the Prevention of Corruption. In the year 1961, Santanam Committee on Prevention of Corruption was appointed, and this commission, has recommended that there should be a committee for the, there should be a CBI, okay, for investigating anti-corruption cases. And it is not a statutory body. Please remember, this is not a statutory body. CBI is not a statutory body. Okay, this is not a statutory body, and this derives its powers from the Delhi Special Police Establishment Act 1946, and it comes under the administrative jurisdiction of Ministry of Personnel. Please don't confuse between Ministry of Personnel and Ministry of Home Affairs. So CBI generally comes under the administrative jurisdiction of Ministry of Personnel, and it is not a statutory body. Okay, it is not a statutory body, but it derives its powers from the Delhi Special Police Establishment Act 1946. However, how the chairman or how the director of CBI is generally appointed. Okay, so there is a committee for the appointment of CBI director. The committee consists of Prime Minister, Leader of Opposition in the Lok Sabha, and Chief Justice of India or any other Supreme Court judge. Please also remember this committee. This committee and the members of the committee are also very important. So mentioned here some of the functions of Central Bureau of Investigation, and Central Bureau of Investigation investigate cases of corruption against central government employees. Okay, so it investigate cases related to the central government employees, and it will also investigate breach of economic laws such as excise, export or import. And apart from this, it will also take up cases of state government having public importance. Apart from that, CBI also have certain drawbacks. The drawbacks of the CBI include CBI require the prior approval of the central government before taking up any inquiry. And second drawback is it is exempted from the provisions of Right to Information Act. Please also remember CBI is exempted from the jurisdiction of Right to Information Act 2010. Okay, RTI Act 2010. So these are the certain drawbacks of the Central Bureau of Investigation. So apart from that, CBI also requires general consent. Okay, general consent from the state government when it is investigating a particular issue, a corruption related issue in the state government. For example, if a state government issues or withdraws the general consent to CBI, then CBI have to require, or CBI need the general consent of the state government to investigate any corruption related issue in state government. So recently there was a tussle between the CBI and the West Bengal police. Okay, West Bengal police. And in mains also 2021 there was a question on this issue. Okay, so therefore CBI is very important. These are the all important and relevant news articles for today's discussion. Okay, so thank you.